Imagine if you could easily find solutions to make your region or city smarter, greener, better connected, more social, and closer to citizens. The Integrator Policy Learning Platform can help you access knowledge about the latest policy trends, discover expert-validated good practices from all over Europe, find solutions in our peer review, get tailored support from our expert team. We can connect you with the right people and organizations. Together, we will find ways to solve your region's or city's challenges. Start your policy learning journey today.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this Policy Learning Platform webinar on citizen-oriented innovations. My name is Laura Varisco, and I'm one of the thematic experts of the Policy Learning Platform, and today I'm glad to co-moderate this webinar together with my colleagues, Marc. Hello, Marc.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Laura. Great to be here and looking forward, like the rest of you, to our three great speakers. So, I'll be joining you later in the discussion, so don't hesitate to also share your questions during the chat and other forms of interaction that we will propose. So good luck, everyone.
Exactly. And Valentin is here to help and to assist you in sharing your questions and using the chat. But join me in giving a warm welcome to our speakers for today. Ilaria Mariani joining us from Milan, Italy. Hello, Ilaria.
Hello.
Hello. Michał Rzeźnik joining us from Poznan, Poland. Hello, Michał.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, good morning. And last but not least, Gwennaelle Costa Vaillant joining us from the Île-de-France region in France. Hello, Gwennaelle.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Hello. So today it's what we are offering you for the webinar. We will start with a welcoming and introduction of the Policy Learning Platform services as usual. Then we will leave the floor to our keynote speaker, Ilaria, and later on to Michał and Gwennaelle, who are good practice owner of Integrator products. And as usual, we will end our webinar with a moderated panel discussion with the help of Marc and myself. And of course, we will wrap up and we will end the webinar at 11:30. But before we get started, I would like you to use the Slido for two short icebreaker questions so that we can warm up a little bit and stretch our legs before we start the webinar. Valentin is also sharing the link in the chat. If not, you can use QR code or log in into slido.com and insert this code. And while you are preparing yourself, I will prepare the Slido. Oh, it's all good on your side, so I will activate the poll. First question. In one word, what makes a public service truly citizen-oriented? So you can use whatever word comes to your mind, and a nice word cloud will pop up. Okay. Replies are already appearing. Good. Okay, we see participation, acceptance, consideration, accessibility, inclusion. Wow, a lot. A lot of participation, accessibility, inclusion again, co-design, participation again, customer journey, empathy to citizens, okay, accessible, okay, you see the the word that you see in green, it means that a lot of you typed the same word. So we can all agree that in one word, what makes a public service truly citizen-oriented, in your opinion, is about participation, inclusion, and accessibility, and of course, all the other nice words. Thank you. And I believe that we will listen to these keywords all along the webinar and during our speakers' presentations. Next question. Okay, so this is a multiple choice. What is the biggest challenge in designing citizen-oriented public services? Is it lack of citizen engagement? Is it limited funding or resources? Is it technology and accessibility gaps? Or slow government adoption, or other options? Okay, thank you for participating. A lot of participants. Very active this morning. Okay, good. So, okay, first, the most voted option is no government adoption. I believe we can say a few words on it later on, Marc, isn't it? And second one is lack of citizen engagement. And I believe that Ilaria will give us a lot of tips on that. So perfect. Thank you. Let me go back to our presentation. Okay, very shortly. The reason why you're here is because we are part of the Interreg-Europe program, which is an interregional cooperation program involving 36 countries and including 7 new countries from Eastern Europe. And the first priority is capacity building for policymakers across Europe. There are the first objective is, of course, to empower policymakers to deliver good regional development policy instruments. And how do we do that? Through exchange of experience and innovative approaches. So it's a little bit different from cross-border or transnational cooperation. We cover all the 6 topics of the cohesion policy. And there are 2 actions. The first is about funding projects and consortia, and no more calls opening. Maybe I'm pre-announcing it, but I don't think it's a secret anymore. It will be announced during our Interreg Europe annual event next week in Krakow. But no more calls will be open for projects. But that's the reason why we are here. We are representing the policy learning platform, which is the second strand of the Interreg Europe program. And we serve as a platform for further exploiting project achievements and results, and for enhancing this capacity building intended for policymakers. In a nutshell, what we do is about knowledge sharing, policy solutions through a database of validated good practices. Then we give expert support through peer review and tailor matchmaking. And of course, access to people through events online like this one, a webinar, but also on-site events. We organize a series of workshops all along the year. And concerning the expert support, I am glad to announce that 2 weeks ago, we were in Sweden and we delivered our 100th peer reviews. We started this top service in 2019. And as you can see on the map, we are filling almost all the countries in Europe. If you are interested in this service, do not hesitate to send us a message, and if you want to have more information, do not hesitate to have a look at our website. And now I leave the floor to Marc for a short thematic introduction of today's topic. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Ilaria. Good morning again to everyone. I think we've got over 100 participants online, so thank you for joining us. 100 seems to be the number, as Laura said, with the peer reviews. We had hundreds, and we're looking forward to carrying on. Today's webinar, the fact you're 100, shows that it's an important theme for all of you, and the capacity for developing innovation is often associated with laboratories, science and research, but I think increasingly we're seeing how the citizen dimension is becoming more important in relation to not only the delivery of public services, but also the design and therefore the engagement of citizens in the process of design, often related in terms of co-creation and the different forms of approaches that can be mobilized in regions and cities, rural areas. I think the questions of accessibility was highlighted on the word cloud, highlighting probably the different forms of service delivery that are being developed, So I think these are some of the issues that the speakers will be addressing. The capacity of delivering services has been increasingly delivered through digital platform, digital services. But I think we need to bear in mind that there still remains parts of society that either don't have access to digital high quality resources, digital skills, and therefore they remain a target group for citizen services. So I think there's an issue to be addressed there on the accessibility for certain disadvantaged groups. And when we worked on a peer review in northern Netherlands, in the province of Friesland, we were working with community groups on how they could participate in the challenges their regions faced, and were provided with small community vouchers of 2,500 euros to engage them, and with targeting methods for particularly disadvantaged and less represented groups in the usual suspects, as we call them. So the scalability of solutions at a community level or upwards when you're dealing with a region the size of Ile-de-France, which we'll hear about later, with I think 20% of France's population, you can imagine the difference between a major city region and the smaller rural areas. So data and data services, data storage, data accessibility, data privacy, all of those factors are important in the issues that we will be not only discussing today, but for you, many of you in your daily life in delivering digital services. The capacity also to learn from the experience and the feedback from citizens. I think the services that are provided on a digital basis have the advantage of being rapidly not only scalable, but adaptable, changeable, if the platforms work, but the capacity to ensure they remain relevant is also an important dimension for policymakers to get feedback. And I think we're all aware of the different online services that enable you to give a score, give a value, give a rating of the service that you are receiving. So some of the benefits that I think the three speakers today will highlight was the capacity for ensuring public services are focused on the real needs of the population, the target users, identifying what role technology, and I haven't even mentioned artificial intelligence once, and I was trying to avoid it, but I think many of us are using it on a daily basis, not only for the design, but also for your working environment. But it remains important that real people and communities feature in the process of design of citizen-based technology, innovation, service delivery. We saw in some of the questions that you highlighted in the last poll of the challenges, and we've added some additional ones, the scalability and accessibility gaps. How do you actually measure impact, and making sure the government departments that can most benefit from such services being offered are brought up to speed, not only with training, but also with the reorganization that the online service can be, let's say, accelerated. But my last point on this one is that let's not also forget that not everything is driven by technology, and the engagement processes through face-to-face, through meetings, through processes. I think we'll have some good examples of how communities are involved in the co-creation phase that involves the contact face-to-face in different forms. We can also touch upon, I hope in the discussion later, the challenge-based approach for designing and providing services that meet a specific need. So I'm looking forward to this session, and we'll have plenty of time for interactions through the different chat, questions, and the panel session at the end. Laura, back to you.
Thank you very much, Marc, for this comprehensive introduction. And now it's time that we leave the floor to our speakers. So let me welcome on stage Ilaria Mariani. Please, you can share your presentation. Good luck.
Thank you. Here we come. And the slideshow mode. Thank you very much for having me here. I felt like continuously triggered by the words that you've been introducing so far, because they fundamentally align with every single slide so far that I'm going to present to you. So welcome to this short discourse about how to engage citizens and stakeholders for service design by looking not just at the opportunities, but also at the challenges that it comes with. I have the honor and pleasure to be engaged in several European projects because I'm part of a group that is very much committed to them. So I have been exposed a lot to these practices, which is a transversal thing that we are applying and supporting public administration NGOs to do. And here it comes a sort of a summa of different experiences that I've been through in the last 6 years, 7 years. So here I come just with a super short introduction saying, or recalling what just Marc pointed out, saying that when technology enters the governance sector, there are some aims and objectives, which are the usual suspects, from like improving government services, optimizing efficiency, streamlining the governance itself, and also addressing challenges. And these elements comes with a need of openness, of basic and fundamental accountability, having the citizens always at the center, while also being aware of a systemic condition in which this takes place, having services which are better, meaning not just being tech-oriented, but able to answer needs of the real users, being them the citizens or the public sector units themselves, and support the modernization of the public service sector so that it's not lagging behind, also because the private sector keeps raising the bar and makes our users used to very much intuitive, user-friendly platforms. And as public sectors, we need not just to keep the pace, but to be at the forefront of these. So in that, the field comes with a series of challenges, both theoretical and practical, but let's say that we focus on the practical ones, because at the crossroads of AI and emerging tech, service design and public sector, what comes as a practical challenge is most of the time that of implementing a real user-centered approach that goes beyond the tech enthusiasm that sometimes it's leading the way for innovation. Then having real effective stakeholder engagement, so being able to effectively integrate in the process, not just at the very end for validating or testing out, but throughout the process, our stakeholders going also beyond just the citizens. And last, the infamous resistance to change that it's often around, but it's not, it goes and spawns from a mindset that may be just what we are used to in public administrations, to the fact that there are some long-term arrangements, technology already like implemented and ways of using, which has sedimented through times. And these are all the background of information. So one of the things that we've been struggling to pass through is that the subject involved when seeking a solution to a problem is not part of the problem itself. It's actually part of the solution. So this is a way already to flip the table and look at our users, and not just as who's bringing in the problems of usability, accessibility, and so on, but they are actually so experts of their needs that they play the role of contributing to solve the problem themselves. This is also like shown by this well-known design council framework for innovation, where it's the engagement is seen as part of a bigger context in which we operate as designers. This is the double diamond that we use as a process representation of our design way of doing. And you can see that starting from the challenge and going to the outcome, this is all included and contained within a bigger bubble that sees the relevance of engagement, but also the leadership as a way to conduct the dancing in a way that makes sense, and it's not frustrating, but actually empowering for all the different actors involved. But that's one of the design council. Actually, this is the one we've been focusing on in the last years, and it puts together this design thinking approach with an experiential learning process. So to go through all the phases and experiment engagement through all of them. And let's see, the issue here is remaining user-centered and having good, effective engagement. And the challenge is designing when, why, who, and how to engage them. Let's see the examples. These are the research projects. I will quickly go through, mainly to see the learnings that we got from them, because some of them engage people in terms of co-design, so designing together, and it's 2 European projects. Other stakeholder engagement in terms of planning how to engage stakeholders, and sometimes toolkit to do it. So framing the context, socio-technical approach, so not just technical, but socio-technical, small-scale experimentation aiming to scale up, and a multi-stakeholder ecosystem and settings, which comes with their challenges. We will not just address possibilities and opportunities, but also potential pitfalls and challenges that we experimented along the way. And so let's go. First, when we went through EasyRight project, a project to facilitate migrants' access to rights by designing better services for them, we really used to design services as interfaces to rights. And to do that, we put in place an ecosystem with quadruple helix actors, which were really engaged throughout the entire process. So having hackathons, having the entire ecosystem on the project, and having pilot experimentation through 2 rounds of services across these countries and cities in particular, by having civil service in the loop, public administration, migrants themselves, ICT developers, researchers, always on the challenge. So that all the people who are influenced have a chance to say their own words. And they have been engaged from the analysis of the context and gathering of the needs, identifying the problem and revising that in order to better address it, to define and envision solutions together, and later on prototyping. So not just latter stage having people involved, but along the way when it was recognized as relevant. For instance, mapping the stakeholders was a first necessary step to move towards all the other parts. So knowing who is informed, influenced by that become a way to go through that. What we learned was that hackathons become a way to engage multiple groups of people, fostering real collaboration. However, the multilingual, multi-sector communication was a real challenge, like different sectors speaking different languages, created a lot of slowdowns in the process, and designing inclusive, accessible, and desirable solutions spanning across very different levels of digital literacies were a real hurdle for us. Then we also had some friction due to stakeholder dynamics coming from both the public administration, ICTs, and users that forced us to deal with them. Moving to Orbis, e-participation, public participation enforced and supported by AI, so technical solution. We used and are using 6 pilots across Europe to inform every of our doing. Different scales, different purposes, different way of doing innovation. And they've been included to inform an integrated approach to deliberative democracy using different platforms and an AI toolkit to support their activities. We've been engaging pilots, but also their communities. So not just the organizers, but also the communities addressing them to map the stakeholders doing this, and also conducting together user scenario requirements and informing therefore technological requirements, so that every steps have been co-designed and co-created with pilots, because they know their own needs and they are expert in this. And in so doing, we've been reaching the situation having co-design workshops with pilots and techs, so to continuously, iteratively inform our solutions. In this doing, multidisciplinary co-design settings has been really challenging. Different ideas, but also the need to reach consensus, while people lacking also familiarity with AI and emerging technology could create a bit of a challenge in understanding which are the real potentiality and how to embed them in more traditional practices. But the continuous exchanges and co-design methods applied really made a change by creating moments of real exchange. Risk is that piloting is in real life, and our pilots are addressing the challenge of really putting them at the forefront. We also moved to startups with GovTech Connect, where we engage, thanks to DigiConnect support, in bringing co-design, design thinking, and service design with startups to inform GovTech solutions. Here, design thinking, co-design, and service design were at the crossroad of our experimentation, and we've been able to design a GovTech reusable portfolio and also stakeholder engagement plan to support designing the stakeholder within startups along the way. So again, support startups in understanding why they should act and reach out to stakeholders and citizens and where to engage them to inform their own activities, so that the GovTech solution are more keen to answer real needs of both public administrations and users. Here, let's say that the challenges were a huge amount of minus, as you can see. Stakeholder engagement is often left at the final part, and it's difficult to bring it at the beginning. Sometimes it's used, but not called like that. And we have this strong tech-centric approach in startups dealing with GovTech that makes it a bit harder to adopt a real user-centric approach. Let me rush to the last part. So educational settings was also one of the experimentation in which we brought citizen and stakeholder engagement, having public administrations as our cohort of participants. So really challenging setting with different municipalities, from AI public service in terms of executive master to city management one. Here, we put an AI for Gov toolkit to go through the different steps of the project and understand when to have user research, how to conduct it, and when to plan again the stakeholder engagement of our stakeholders and citizens along the way. In this case, we note that when previous experiences of participation in any way was done by participants to these masters, there was more openness and readiness to approach these new practices because of previous exposure and the sort of trust that was already there. Then NGOs and certain public sectors really were proner towards this experimentation and stakeholder engagement because they experimented it somehow and benefited from that. So there was, again, openness. But participants with less open-ended mindset really found it difficult to be put in place. And I'm speaking about much bigger organizations. While this led to identify targeted approaches to address it and foster adaptability. In this, hands-on experimentation was flipping the table for real because it allowed to practically demonstrate the reason why because of this. So we also experimented a lot to move from traditional forms of citizen engagement to hybrid ones, bringing again on the table a series of issues and challenges, but it also allowed to benefit from overcoming geographical barriers and temporal barriers, benefiting of experiences cross-border that was very relevant to be understood, especially in an idea of scaling innovation. So just to summarize, this is what we've been doing, trying to move from level 1 of citizen engagement to empowering citizens, to make them the ones dictating what to do, where to do, not just following tech direction. And I hope I have been in the time. Sorry for rushing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ilaria. Just to reassure everybody that you will have access to all the slides, because I think Ilaria gave us some really, she could have done a presentation on each one of those case studies. And I think we always don't give you enough time, so apologies for that. Just perhaps one question before we move on to the next speaker. You mentioned on a couple of occasions the role of the sort of stakeholder community and the mapping of that stakeholder community. And sometimes you're using sort of representative groups, NGOs, as a way of doing that. To what extent can you, when you do this stakeholder mapping, go into the, let's say, not the usual suspects? How do you find the sort of newer groups, the target groups? You mentioned on a couple of times the difficulty to engage with some groups, but are there any techniques for going beyond the usual community groups that the local authorities would be working with? Any tips?
Yeah, that's actually what we've been doing to dig deeper by taking the usual suspects into consideration because they are the relevant ones still and they remain as such, but they are not the only one. So the stakeholder map becomes an exercise, but also an excuse to think about who else is experiencing that also at the local, in a local dimension where the design is taking place, so that you can actually reach out and bring them in by going there, visiting and asking for opinions. So this is a way to go and consider the multiple scale engage in the process.
Well, I think you highlighted the importance of pilots and experimentation on a number of occasions, and that can give, in the short term, I imagine, results quickly that then can convince both the organizations funding, but also those perhaps benefiting. So I think pilots was mentioned, experimentation, I think in all of the examples you gave. So I think that's something certainly I retained.
Yes, if I can say, pilots are an amazing resource, but they are also extremely demanding because when a pilot is taking place, it's occurring in the real life. So although the setting, it's that of a pilot, and it may be considered like a safe setting in which to experiment, you still engage real human beings. And so you have people on board and you have to take care that this is, as one experimentation, the best solution you can bring and do not create frustration. Just think about when we were experimenting with migrants.
Okay. Well, we'll come back and to Ilaria in the panel session. As you see, our colleagues in the chat, Valentina's requested any questions, please put them in and we'll collect them. I'll give Laura the floor again to introduce our next speaker. Thanks again, Ilaria.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Marc, and thank you very much, Ilaria, for this introduction with practical insights on how to involve citizens. And now we will explore the other side of the coin, namely solutions that have been put into place in one city in Poland, Poznan, and in one region in France. So I'm welcoming on stage right now, Michał. Thank you. The floor is yours.
So good morning, everyone. My name is Michał Rzeźnik, and I'm Innovation and Sustainability Specialist at Poznan City Hall, and I'm really honored to be here as a speaker, and thanks a lot to you. Next slide, please. So I'll tell you about Smart City Poznan and what is Smart City Poznan. So we call it a future-oriented city focused on optimizing urban life, shaped by conscious citizens who actively contribute to its development. We noticed the needs of our citizens and created a space for collaborations with them. And we've created a Poznan Smart City model, and which focus on quality and efficiency. We prioritize universal solutions accessible to all social groups, and also emphasize integration and easy access. And we developed our model on 6 key areas, which are smart living, smart environment, smart economy, smart community, smart mobility, and smart digital city. And each area has defined actions and goals. Next slide, please. In our mission, we follow the Sustainable Development Goals, which are a global plan to transform the world sustainably, ensures current needs without compromising future generations, and also emphasize environmental responsibility. Next slide, please. And mostly we focus on goal number 11, aims to make cities more inclusive, safe and resilient, and also sustainable. Next slide, please. So in our model, in the smart digital city area, we advanced technologies help make urban processes more efficient, and our goal is to improve the city's operations while keeping human involvement central to its development. Next slide, please. And our flag product is the Smart City Poznan app, and it's designed to cater to the needs of Poznan citizens. And I'll tell you key features of the app, which are issue reporting. So users can report various non-urgent matters under 6 categories, which are order, roads, vehicles, social advertisements, inventory, animals, and also environment. Citizens can actively shape their surroundings, report issues around the city, report non-urgent matters in 6 categories, which I mentioned. We also have the news and updates. We send the push notifications for urgent information. We have the news module with the latest city events and updates. And we also have the quick access to upcoming events in Poznan. Furthermore, we have the travel and parking information and a travel calculator as well. We also have the waste collection schedule with reminder notifications, and also the cemetery search engine, which is going to be on the next slide, please. So we launched it before the All Saints Day in Poland, which is at the 1st of November, and it's a great way to connect with history while paying respects. And this feature lets you find the grave in the cemetery easily, and also get guided to the exact locations, which is connected with Google Maps. And also it explores the history of the Olympians and the Wielkopolska uprisings. Next slide, please. So the public transport timetable live is one of the newest features in our application as well. And it tracks public transport vehicles in real time on a map. So you can check the departure times from all the city stops for the trams and for the buses as well. And you can also save your favorite stops for quick and easy access. So it's a convenient way to stay updated and plan your journey effortlessly. Next slide, please. So we have the user-friendly interface upgrade. So it was redesigned last year. We are planning to translate the application to English, Ukrainian, and the next step, German as well. Next slide, please. And here are some statistics of our app. So we have almost 35,000 users of the app. We've sent almost 5,000 push notifications, and the app is like 4 years old. We have approximately almost 3,000 cases, issues cases by month. And the most popular categories in issues are roads, vehicles, and order. People loves to report incorrectly parked cars. And we have almost 85% of cases handled, and the rejected cases are only 8%. Next slide, please. So our good practices are responding to resident feedback, prioritizing citizens' needs, converting public data into accessible, valuable tools, and also allowing citizens to influence their environment. Next slide, please. And the city of Poznan promotes the sharing of public open data and actively work on smart urban management solutions, and the existence of the open data platform aims to improve urban management and benefit municipal units, external entities, and residents. And the platform provides the ability to manage the data and offer tools for its visualization. Next slide, please. And the pie chart above is an example of data visualization on our open data platform, showing the number of reports submitted in each category in our Smart City Poznan app. The most significant category is roads, which includes reports related to damaged sidewalks, streets, or broken signs, traffic signals, multifunctioning street lights, and street greenery issues. Next slide, please. And we do also have a 3D city model, and it's a part of Poznan's Special Information System launch in 2018. And it enables better urban planning, decision-making, and also city management. And it has nearly 100,000 buildings on it. Next slide, please. And this model ranked 4th worldwide among 40 city models in the International Journal of Geographic Information Science. So it's first full city 3D model in Poland, launched in 2018, as I mentioned. And the next slide, please. We do also have the solar potential map, which analyzes of a solar energy potential for rooftops in Poznan, and it also calculates for each rooftops, determine the annual solar energy received. Next slide, please. We do also the tree inventory in Poznan in our 3D model, and it allows users to find tree species across Poznan and the data gathered through laser scanning technology. Next slide, please. In our city, we do also have the sensors on the 3D Poznan map. So it has the bicycle counters, so which tracks cycling activity throughout the city, which provides real-time data for environmental monitoring and decision-making, and also helps plan sustainable urban development. Next slide, please. Thank you for your attention, and I was hurrying up as well to tell you everything about Poznan in 10 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Michał. I'm sure there's more you could have told us, but we do try and get you to talk. I'm glad you gave us some figures on the actual use of the application. It's almost 35,000. What's the trend? Is it plateaued, or is it something that just keeps going up? What's the feeling of the user journey for more downloads?
It's rising because like last August we've reached 30,000. So in like half year we've got 5,000 new users, and we've never had any promotion of the application. Like it's getting more popular in the city because on the application we have like almost 70 it's more than 100 administrators who work in like 70 different offices of the city. So yeah, if we're gonna do any promoting campaign, for sure we need like more people to administrate the application so we can handle more cases.
Okay. And is there any revenue generating activities, or is it all, public money that's funding it, or do you have any services or schemes for generating revenue from the application?
So for now, we only use the public money for the application, but I don't know how it's gonna be. We are trying to figure out the new features, for example, to connect with travel. Mainly our application is for residents because, for example, tourists are not going to be interested in like a waste schedule or cemetery search engine.
No. Okay. No, but it's an interesting insight to what's happening in Poznan. Okay, I see that some of the questions that were asked to Ilaria, she's kindly tapping some answers. So carry on asking and Ilaria will carry on answering, and we can pick some of them up later to everybody. So Laura, I think we're going to move to our last speaker, last but not least.
Last but not least, exactly, Gwennaelle. She will present another digital platform, another example with other features. And so please, the floor is yours, Gwennaelle. And do not hesitate to keep asking questions and also maybe share your experience if you are a city or a region with similar platforms. Please share also your experience.
So I'm very glad to be with you today for this very interesting meeting. And I'm Gwennaelle. I'm the Chief Digital Innovation and Smart Officer of Paris region. Just to give you some clue of Paris region, or Île-de-France en français region. We are a territory of 12 million inhabitants, and it's quite the center of R&D and innovation, startup and digital industries in France. So we have one of the major innovation hotspots in the world. So we would like at the government, Paris region government, this is our president, Valérie Pécresse. She would like to have the same experiences for citizens that the industry and the startup has. So that was the beginning of our digital foundation. We would like to offer to every citizen, tourists, NGOs, and companies a smart, sober, and inclusive Paris region digital platform and digital strategy, innovation strategy at all. And this is my first good practice. It's very helpful to have a boss which truly understand our vision of what is important for citizens. If you have your boss behind you, it's clearly better and easier to develop. So what is the smart platform? We call it Île-de-France Smart Service. It's free, it's for everyone, and it's based on 4 pillars. A data integrator with more than 10,000 data sets coming from every part of Île-de-France region, not just open data of our government. We collect all the public and private data and share it or not, but we create services that are co-construct with more than 200 partners, 260 partners, coming from all the area regarding the region, so main activities and public sector, academics, NGO. We also have, like Poznan and Michał, I will change my presentation to answer to yours. So we have also a 3D digital twin on all the 2.5 million buildings in Paris region. And we have also the solar potential for every roof and every parking. So everyone can charge such his house or the parking behind his house to see the solar potential. And we make it through an open, innovative approach and based on design approach with user. Is it for everyone? Our main concern is to offer a platform for everyone. So we offer services for citizens, but also for tourists, also for all the territories inside Paris region, Île-de-France region, because we have more than 1,000, 2,000 of public sector and public cities inside. So we offer them free services for their internet site or app site, and also for economic sector. Today it's more than 50 digital services because I think I have to check this slide, but you can have it for free on your laptop or smartphone. And if you are not a digital native, we try to conduct an accessibility consulting system to develop all the platform for disability issues and eco-conception issues in order to manage the environmental and energy approach of the platform. It's quite complicated, to be honest, but I can share maybe another time about this aspect. We are based on community of product owner and designer. We are designer inside the region. My main focus is to recruit the best public talents behind the private sector in order to develop a complete approach of co-construction service with every type of user. And it's a trigger because last services was for students, and next one is for company which are settled in Paris region, and next one is for rural cities, because you don't maybe know, but 50% of Paris region is rural. So we are a very complete mess territory. So we have to develop design approach very appropriate for every services. We have conduct a system every time with the same approach. So we work on what data we have and what issue we have. We analyze these issues and what is inside our digital toolbox in order to respond to the issues. We conduct bar camp. We try to respond at the needs, but sometimes we have to redevelop because we are not completely aligned with the citizen needs. And we do consultation every time to know if we will respond. Every semester, we evaluate every services. I just want to make some focus on the 2-3 services directly related to a citizen partnership. So we have, like other region and cities, budget about citizen project regarding ecological approach. It's more than 1 million inhabitants participating to this démarche. We launched this year the same thing for disabilities because it's a clear objective of Île-de-France region to be better managing the life to a better life for disabilities person in Paris region. So we would like to give to citizens the capabilities to propose, and we manage to finance. We also have a complete platform regarding participation. And one of our key success that in the future, I think, we create digital services to create other digital services without any competencies, because what is very complicated is to have money, and we don't have all the money we want. So we try to create services with no code competencies, so we can create without money and without competencies new digital services. We use it, for example, to create something for the Olympic Games and for sport issues. And it's very useful regarding the challenging time of finance in public sector to have this type of tool and to develop for maybe 1 or 2 weeks a new digital services. I hope I answer better as I could for your webinar, and I will be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Gwennaelle. It's a huge platform, so I think you're going to be able to touch on some of the issues. One question I had, I saw on one slide you had in the top right-hand corner a sun that said premium services. That normally implies paying services or different types of services. What was behind that sun?
Marc, to answer the same question you asked to Michał, today all the services are free, but yes, to be honest, we could maybe create some services with a not free system, and it would not be developed by public sector, by private sector. So it could be a future. And today we already have services created by private sector, put on platform, but for free for citizens. So we are managing this question regarding the same aspect as just before with La Fabrique. Money is money, and we need to think about.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that, Laura, if we can thank all our speakers for finishing perfectly on time, because your agenda said 11 o'clock and it says 10:58. So well done to all three for doing that. So appreciate that. And thank you, the speakers who've answered to the questions in the chat. So that's very helpful. It saves me asking you the questions again. But I think what we'd like to do now is to sort of bring all three of you together. And so if the chat wants to ask any more questions, do so. In the meantime, we will ask some questions. I'd just like to come back to one of the answers you gave, Michał, to Andrea. And she was saying, you know, have you done some analysis of the users? And I think that's a question relevant to all of you, is to what extent do you match the different users with different services, and to what extent does that help you plan new services? You know, if we just take the example that Michał gave to Andrea, saying that the older users seem to be more interested when their bins are going to be collected, when the recycling, etc. And the younger people are looking at the events and maybe those points. Any other similar work that you do, Gwennaelle, in the sort of Ile-de-France platform, aligning different services with different users, and helps you get more of a focused feedback?
Maybe 2-3 points. I didn't mention that all the platform is based on sovereign tools. So we just use strictly European tools. So we can't use, for example, Google Analytics to insert to Ilaria. It's a shame because Google Analytics is very relevant, but it's not sovereign. So we use open source French tool called Matomo, which is clearly not all competent at Google Analytics, but we can respect all the data protection and have a panel with citizens to deploy a good approach for every needs. And I give you an example. We have a services for a senior person, more than, I can't say age, but more than 80 maybe. And we design it with this person and also with the person who helps them in family or in NGO or in cities. And the more important for me is to be behind the person who will use the services, because we develop all the things and they said, oh, no, not like this, not like this. And so we simplify all the services because it was not responding. So their capacity, their willingness to use this type of services. So for me, the more important is to be behind the citizen, maybe every week or every month at least, but it's the key. The main objective of my team is to go outside our building.
Okay. There are two questions that I think Steve Bears asked, and I think Christine Cleve to Michał and Gwennaelle. I think both asking similar questions. Is how do you reach the non-digital part of the population? When I mean non-digital, it's the people who are perhaps not as at ease with the smartphones or their laptops or their pads. Any tips from you first, Michał, and then Gwennaelle? As we have to give Gwennaelle a rest for 2 minutes. How do you deal with these the non-app and non-tech people?
Thanks for this question. So we do have Poznan hotline where the people can always from 7:30 in the morning until 8 p.m. call and ask all the questions they couldn't find on our website or our app. And as a city, we also do a lot of workshops to help like non-digital people to become more familiar with our services. So I think it's really helpful for these people.
Okay, and Gwennaelle, in your experience in Ile-de-France, you mentioned the city and rural communities that you have to deal with. Perhaps some insights on the non-digital people and their participation.
So non-digital is part of the question. It's in Paris region is about 15 to 25% of all inhabitants regarding studies. But we also have the question of electronism and no capacity to write and something. So clearly verbal and talking approach, it's key. Like Michał, we have the same system. and we are trying to conduct a new approach using AI to create a tool, speech to text to services. I give you just one example. I'm quite sure you don't know the competencies of region in France because it's administrative organization of France, so it's complicated. But to just one thing, we are competent for high school system. So we have all the high school system and all the students in high school system. And so we have more than 10,000 public servants in high school, and they have no time to connect and so on. So we are creating something to speech to text to services. And we think it could be also a good key for non-digital person because it will be easier for them to use it. And also for tourists or person arriving in France, and we could translate directly. So we are managing these issues with some use case.
Okay. Well, thanks, Christine and Steve, for your question, and hopefully you've got some answers. Ilaria, from your research perspective, do you have any insights onto how the non-technology groups can be addressed? I think you mentioned it a couple of times.
Yeah. For instance, when we are running now a project that is indeed AI supports for deliberative democracy, we are engaging all the kind of population, and we have specific attention to engage the ones that are out of hegemonic discourse, like the usual suspects, which are participating all the time, while others are left out, minorities or diversity groups. And the way in which we are approaching that, it's hybridizing. So not just going digital, but having insight meetings, which can then be transported in terms of outcome, registered and through automatic transcription to a system to be processed, and then the results are brought back to the real spot. So rather than having the real enters the digital and come back to the real world once processed and supported. So a way it's to go where they are, because otherwise we are going left out, and this is unacceptable because we are not representative and not inclusive in the way we would behave.
Okay. One of the issues that we hear about in the technology training that's required, I get the impression that your departments, Michał and Gwennaelle, are in the sort of digital teams, and you're the most digitally aware and trained. To maybe not, but anyway, to what extent is the skills training in other departments a barrier for the deployment of services? When you go in and talk to the department, let's say in charge of refuse, we want to have this service, you need to now input. Well, what sort of skills training is being deployed? Gwennaelle, you mentioned helping teachers who don't have time by a certain type of extra services, but more generally, what's the skills gap than the training initiatives that you found in both Poznan and Île-de-France being necessary?
Regarding the team, we are not all digital specialists. In my team, there is a designer, philosopher. Before we have a doctor, we made 3 years with us and go back to medicine. So we try to recruit not digital specialists because we are focused on user-centric approach. But we are interested in digital, it's true. So regarding the trainings, it's the base of every program. We make a huge learning expedition for maybe 3 years when we develop the platform for all the Paris region public services. At this time, today, to be honest, we launch for every agent in Paris region AA Academy in order to help them to take into their life AA. And we have the same approach for teacher, for public sector. We have the same to help SMEs. So clearly, learning and teaching is the key of every transformation program, and we manage it for every user. So we have a special app for person before 25 years, and we have special trainings online regarding protection, data protection, and so on. And we do it for every public. And I called before about the 80, more than 80, with NGO and partners in the community. We also develop some tools regarding digital aspects.
Mm. Okay. And Michał, from Poznan's experience on this training issue? Skills?
Yeah, so I think there is sometimes kind of resistance among other units to deal with tasks involving the use of technology. They are just like scared about the new tasks daily. And last year we've created the plain language tool, which helps in really easy steps to simplify the official letters sent from the city hall to residents, for example, like building permits, so the inhabitants can easily understand these texts. So it's not that difficult language, let's say, city hall language. Yeah.
And I think when Gwennaelle was referring to the team profile, I think there was a lot of resonance in what Ilaria, you were saying in terms of the designer, the user-centric, understanding users. And before Laura asks a question, Ilaria, what do you take on this skills dimension when you're out there piloting the projects?
Well, I must witness and testify for a good practice, meaning that across the different, we are very, very much engaged in executive masters for public administrations. And we have seen for years massive participation from specific public administrations, which are applying for their officials to participate. So across the different units, representatives are participating to the programs and going through an upskilling that then comes back to the public administration. And we see that there is an ongoing process that is like a good habit we are witnessing about them recurrently being with us. And I need to say that the IIMS, the Italian Institute, I don't remember the full acronym. Laura, you're laughing, but you know what I mean. They put in place several AI-based solutions for IMSS itself, and they won prizes, a huge amount of prizes, and we were so happy because we started reflections together, and then we saw how they massively scale it and included the organization at different levels, and they become one of our best case studies, because they bring it back and operationalized everything. There is hope.
No, didn't know. Interesting. Maybe the sort of master's scheme. Is it international, or is it delivered in Italian?
International.
We better
Now
put the AI, link in on the chat.
Yeah, the AI for Gov one scaled up to the European, worldwide program, winning a big scale up project. I will keep you informed and link in the chat.
Good. I mean, that's one of the backbones of the Interreg Europe projects. A number of you mentioned in your introduction that you're part of Interreg Europe projects that deal with these issues and this exchange process. And here we've heard from Ilaria the more formal. But anyway, Laura, would you want to pose some questions?
Yes, I wanted to go back to the results of the Slido, especially the fact that 45% of the audience replied that the biggest challenge is about slow government adoption. And I heard Gwennaelle say something in a very concrete way, saying that if you don't have your boss behind your back, you cannot deliver the services. So I wanted to ask Michał if you feel the same in Poznan, and Ilaria, if you also experience the same in your pilots.
Yes, so I definitely agree with Gwennaelle. Personally, my boss is really awesome, so I can't complain. But I know like different bosses from different units. Sometimes if they don't like really support the innovative ideas, it's really hard to implement some projects.
I have to say that we have a privilege of a great ecosystem around us, and we have a reputation in the field that probably made us like privileged actors, also reaching out and having people believing in us. I need to be honest about it, because when you move with a brand that is Politecnico di Milano, around you have a certain credibility. Then of course we also has to say that we don't have to break it down, we have to maintain it and to keep increasing that, so we do our best, but for sure having big shoulders support. And then we have continuous, also because of our side, continuous interaction with a lot of public administration, technology players and so on. So our ecosystem, it's very rich and made us able to understand and speak the different languages of the ecosystem. Therefore, at a certain point, we have to play the role of mediators, translators between the different fields. And I have to say that this facilitates a lot. It's very painful because it takes a lot of time, but at the end, it smooths the process, because it allows everybody to understand what the other is doing, saying, and the different needs. So to cooperate in spite of competing, that is another thing that should be said.
Yeah, and bouncing back to a similar remark that I believe you made, Ilaria, it was about resistance to change. Is it more related to the political level or also technical level? Can you say something more about it?
Both. It depends, and both, because often it's the person that is making the change. You may have a very like open-minded and desire and wishing to experiment person in a political setting, and therefore it's pushing for innovation and experimentation. While you may have like a technologist in which there are certain agreements between providers and staff which may limit the room of innovation, and so it varies very much. There is no one size fits all situation. We can just say that every time it's a bit different, but the resistance to change is mostly related to habits and how to get rid of certain habits, showing that what is new, it's scary, but sometimes can help you. So going out of your usual path and comfort zone may really make a boost to how you are able to answer certain issues and, for instance, develop solutions. In the startups domain, engaging users at the beginning means losing a lot of time. That's for sure. You lose a lot of time doing user research by having them in. But at the end, it pays because your solution is much more desirable than others, and therefore it sells more. So it's a double death. Pay more at the beginning, gain more at the end.
Yeah, indeed. And one last question. So as you are talking about startups and engaging startups. Michał and Gwennaelle, do you have experience with innovation procurement when procuring solutions? I see Gwennaelle saying yes. But I believe, Ilaria, you can also say something after about innovation procurement. Gwennaelle, yes.
So innovation procurement is clearly challenging, to be honest. We succeed for the first time to deal with this particular type of procurement, maybe just 3 or 4 years before. After a long time to discussion with our legal department, long time. And also long time to discuss with startup and help them to understand public sector procurement legal issues. So it's very long process, but now we are in live mode. And so it's very clearly smooth to continue in innovation procurement. But we have one issue, it's the end of the contract, first contract of innovation procurement, because at the end it is an innovation, or not more an innovation, because it's on market. So we have to deal with these particular topics at the end of the first contract. But yes, clearly, and because it's our base to sustain sovereign solution, so we need to have this type of innovation procurement.
Thank you.
Yeah. Just to follow up, sometimes, for instance, startups find it's very hard to participate in certain procurements because they see that it's not their size to participate in, or they don't have requirements which are expected because of the way in which procurements are written. So there is also this, it's a very challenging and current topic of discussion, how to support the procurement side so that procurements are doing in a faster way and more efficient and without cutting out possible innovators because of the way in which they are written. Also, in this, using AI to support a series of like background information, which takes a lot of time and are quite consuming for actually little impact.
Interesting. Laura mentioned in her introduction the peer reviews that service we deliver, and one of the peer reviews was recently delivered in the city, but we were based in Venice, on innovation procurement, how the regional government's budget could be used in a way to support innovative approaches to the procurement challenges of the city and the surrounding region. So it's an area where public money can actually leave a greater impact if it's used in a more innovative and challenging way. We're coming to the end of the panel's discussion. I've got one last question to Michał and Gwennaelle. In the journey of your platforms, what's going to be the hot new service that will be put online in 2025, Michał? What was the, just sort of trending, what would be the, if other people are listening to you thinking, well, okay, I've done all the fun things, the transport, the refuse, the events, what's the next service that you think would really make a difference to the citizens of Poznan? And then the same for you, Gwennaelle. What's the next new hot service you think would be really interesting to launch?
So we're planning to develop a game and the app connected with our symbols in the city, which are like Saint Martin croissant, for example. And I think it's easy to implement, and it's going to be fun for the users. And also, I think looking further, maybe a tool using AI to maybe some kind of virtual assistant in the app who can answer the questions or but it's only my opinion.
For this year, we have 3 objectives. First objective is to strengthen the sovereign base on the platform. Data competencies to up. Second is AA, and we are changing all the platform to change the experience using AA, but with the third pillar, which is a sustainable approach. I don't want to have an electric and energy lack of competencies. So we are managing to create a cyber AA sustainable approach, and it's quite complicated, but it's the main objective for this year.
Yeah, because you don't want to have the ecological and sustainability agenda, and then you've got huge server farms creating the nice urban heat islands that we're all familiar with. Okay, well, Laura, I think we're coming to the wrap-up section of today. Do you want to share some words, and I can also, and Michał.
Yes, well, again, thank you very much to all the speakers for actively participating, and also thank you to the audience for actively participating with questions and answering also the initial Slido. I believe that we had both insights from the two developers' experience, and also Ilaria gave us nice inputs to be developed again. I believe that it was just an appetizer of all what you, and I'm speaking to the audience, you can do and you can test and have in your local or regional organization.
Yeah, I think I would add that I think we had 3 complementary speakers. The 4 or 5 case studies that Ilaria shared with us alone could have made a presentation, and I think I'd urge you to read them and look them up. We've also got an Interreg community of projects that deal with these issues of citizen design and digital in general. With Poznan and Ile-de-France, we had 2 different scales of cities and city regions, but having a similar approach and very interesting app-based service delivery. With, I think we certainly heard the focus on getting feedback, getting in citizens engaged in the design, and Ilaria gave us the strong message: pilot, experimentation, get the stakeholder mapping, and I think we saw that from the 2 city presentations as well. I think the challenges that all of you will face as public policymakers who are interested in these approaches to supporting citizens, playing a bigger role in your cities or regions and policymaking, is making the first steps. If you're starting with a blank sheet of paper, you've got a huge menu. If you're an advanced policymaker, you've got some interesting paths to, let's say, go down. Third on the poll that Laura launched, we saw financial resources, and that's why I asked the questions to what extent are the financial models behind these city apps evolving, and the scope for finding some revenues and partners. The skills dimension is not to be underestimated, and in terms of taking the different paths, a number of you asked questions on how do we deal with the non-tech communities, and I think we had very good concrete examples of the phone line. Phones still exist. We don't all, some people still have one in their house which has a string attached to it, and you can still talk, but nobody rings you apart from people selling you solar panels. But now we've got to think of the ways in which disadvantaged groups, and Ilaria talked about migrant populations as being one of the factors. I mentioned the Friesland community vouchers, a way of engaging citizens can be another way of stimulating. And perhaps last but not least, I think, Gwennaelle, you showcased on your last two slides the scope for these platforms to offer challenge-based or mission-based approaches for getting communities to engage, and having such a large region with 12 million inhabitants, accessing all those ideas from both individual citizens and NGOs and other stakeholders to put forward projects and schemes for maybe small-scale funding. So it's a very interesting way to connect with your citizens, connect with your stakeholder groups, and evaluate. I mean, I think all the speakers said, rapid information gathering opportunities means you can adapt and reassess the services. Michał, in one of his questions, answered that, some users, this service is more interesting, some it's this. So you could use real-time capacities to make sure you're delivering really user-centric processes to design, to implement, and to evaluate and redesign all again. So we would again thank the three speakers. Thank you to my colleague Laura and Valentin for helping co-moderate and organize this. You will get the little survey. I think Valentin, you'll flash up a little survey feedback at the end of this chat. So Laura, I will give you the final word because it's appropriate. So thank you from my side. And Laura, over to you.
Well, thank you, Marc. Thank you, Valentin. Huge thanks again to all the speakers. And yes, do not hesitate to reply to the survey that will pop up immediately after we shut down this webinar. And we will update a follow-up article, and also the recording of the webinar will be available soon on the Integrator Europe website.
We might see some of you in Krakow next week when we have our big Let's Cooperate. Will be over 600 people and almost the same, about 300 online. So if some of you are there, don't hesitate to come and see Laura and myself. We'll be running a couple of the workshops.
Yeah, we will have a badge, Thematic Experts badge, so you will recognize us.
Yes, it won't be a digital avatar, it will be the real people.
Thank you again, and have a good day to all of you.
Thanks again,
Bye.
speakers. Bye-bye.